Hello, everybody. Welcome to Evolve Global 22's Healing Light Studio in our healing circle. Feel better daily. And this is episode 3 of our Breathwork to Healing series this week. And we are talking about breathwork for anxiety, grief, and trauma. Take a breath, my friends, in through the nose and out through the mouth. My friends, the body keeps score. If you've spent any time in the wellness or mental health space, you've probably heard that phrase. It comes from the work of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, a psychiatrist who spent decades studying how trauma doesn't live in the memory. It lives in the body, in the muscles, in the nervous system, in the breath. Today, we are talking about something harder than energy management and morning routines. We're talking about anxiety that won't lift even when nothing is wrong, grief that settles into the chest like a weight, trauma that the body is still holding long after the mind has tried to move on. The breath can reach places that talking sometimes can't. Let's get into this together. Here's the first thing most people don't know. Anxiety lives in the exhale. When you're anxious, the first thing that changes is your exhale. It gets shorter, faster, sometimes disappears almost entirely. You're just inhaling and inhaling without ever fully releasing. This keeps your nervous system in a loop of activation, and the loop feeds itself. But here's what's remarkable. The exhale is directly connected to the vagus nerve, the longest nerve in the body, running from the brainstem down through the heart, lungs, and gut. The vagus nerve is essentially your body's brake pedal. When you deliberately lengthen your exhale, you stimulate vagal activity. Your heart rate begins to slow. The stress hormones start to ease. The loop gets interrupted, my friends. You don't have to believe this. You can just try it right now. Exhale for twice as long as you inhale and feel it working. The second thing, grief, is a physical experience. This surprises people. We think of grief as an emotion, something that happens in the mind. But research shows that bereavement activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. The tightness of the chest that grieving people describe isn't metaphor. It's real tissue holding real tension. Breathing slowly and expansively opens the thoracic activity, releases the muscles around the rib cage, and creates physical space in an area that has been physically contracted. This is not a cure for grief. Nothing is a cure for grief, but it is a way to be with the grief without bracing against it. And the third thing that we may not know, trauma is stored as dysregulation, not as memory. This is the key insight from somatic work, from Peter Levin's research, from Van der Kolk's work. Trauma isn't primarily a story. It's a nervous system that got stuck in fight or flight or freeze and never fully come back to baseline. Talk therapy works from the top down, brain to body. Breath work works from the bottom up, body to the brain. For trauma in particular, the bottom up approach can reach things that talking alone cannot. And the fourth thing that we may not know, the vagus nerve, roughly 80% of vagal nerve fibers run from the body to the brain, not the other way around. The body is constantly sending signals upward. Slow diaphragmatic breathing is the most accessible way to increase what's called vagal tone. Higher vagal tone is associated with greater emotional resilience, lower baseline anxiety, better digestion, and improved immune function. You can improve vagal tone. The breath is one of the primary tools for doing it. Now, as we are all human, there are challenges. The first challenge is breathwork can surface emotions you weren't expecting. When you slow down and really tune into your body, sometimes things come up. a wave of sadness, a flash of anger, a feeling of overwhelm for no clear reason. For people carrying unprocessed emotion or trauma, this can feel threatening. The impulse is to stop, to open your eyes, to check your phone, to escape. I want to name that impulse because it's universal, and I want to reframe it. When something comes up in your breath work, that is not a sign that you're doing it wrong. That is a sign that the practice is touching something real. You can slow down, you can take a break, but try not to interpret the emotion as danger. It's just movement, and movement is what healing looks like. The second challenge, most of us have learned to hold our breath under stress, not as a technique, just as a default. Check in right now in this moment. Are you holding? Is there tension in your chest or belly? Are you breathing shallowly? Most people, when asked this question mid-video, realize they were. This default brace state accumulates over years, and breath work is how we begin to put it down. And the third, and I want to be clear about this, breath work is not a replacement for therapy for complex trauma, especially relational trauma, developmental trauma, or experiences involving violence. Please work with a trained facilitator or therapist. Breath work can open doors, but you should have support for what walks through them. So let's talk about a couple simple practices today. I have two practices that I want to share with you today. The first is for anxiety and grief, coherent breathing with a sigh. Sit or lie comfortably. Place both hands on your chest, not your belly this time. Feel the rib cage. Begin breathing at a ratio of 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out through the nose. No forcing, just 5 in and 5 out. Like this. Do this for 5 minutes. If emotion comes up, let it. Don't manage it. And on some of your exhales, let it be an audible sigh, a real one, not performed. So let me demonstrate it with that. So your hands are over your chest. Of course, you can feel your rib cage. It's 5 seconds. Begin breathing, a ratio of 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. And on the last exhale, and on some of the exhales, we are going to do an audible sigh. So let's begin. Very simple. That sigh is the body releasing. You don't need to know what it's releasing. You don't need to name it or understand it. Just let it go. The second practice is for freeze states, when you're not anxious but numb, flat, disconnected, shut down, when you can't feel much of anything. I call this the freeze interrupt. These are 3 sharp double inhales through the nose, sniff, like a sniff, sniff, followed by a long open mouth exhale, then repeat 3 times. So let's do this. So it's 3 sharp double inhales through the nose, followed by a long open mouth exhale. So it would look something like this. You would repeat this for a total of 3 times. This shifts the nervous system out of what trauma researchers call dorsal vagal shutdown, the freeze response, and back toward a state where you can actually be present. Use this when you feel too far down, not for anxiety, for numbness. My friends, healing doesn't always look like breakthrough. It doesn't always look like tears and revelation and a moment of transformation. Sometimes it looks like 5 minutes, hands on your chest, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, an exhale that sounds like relief. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is just stop holding your breath. In our final episode, we put it all together: how to build a daily breathwork ritual that fits into your real life, not your ideal life, the one that you're actually living. Take care of yourself this week. I mean that literally. And take these practices and implement one or two for the right purpose and reason. If you find this content helpful or beneficial, please share it with somebody, and also join us on Patreon. It's only $7.99 a month, and there is a plethora of stuff there. More and more support, guidance, master classes. You get an early release of these live stream videos. I do a morning anchor each weekday morning. There's so much. You have direct access to me. Take care. Stay safe. I love you all. Bye-bye. I'll see you in the circle.